powerlifting is one of those things where the fans are the participants. So it's like everyone's trying to do the same thing. We're all squatting, benching, and deadlifting. We're all, granted, it might be in different federations, whatever, but it's all the same. It's just all the same. And like trying to get people together to understand the value of training with others or even near others.
As you're moving through this powerlifting career, at what point did you start to think, I can be really good? What's going on, guys? We are back with another episode of Table Talk. My guest today is Amber Hansen. Quick rundown of her bio is she's been in the Air Force for 11 years now, right?
Yeah.
So 11 years. So it's safe to say it's a career.
Yeah.
Right?
We're at that point. We're in the double digits.
Yes. She's part of the main event project we'll talk about in a little bit. Her best lifts raw are 479, 341, 545 for a 1339 total. Multiply is 800 squat, 475 bench, 556 squat, 1805 total. Unlimited with a band shirt, she has benched 615. She started coming out here off and on to train, I don't know, a few weeks ago, I don't know, months ago.
I'm not good with time.
It's all blurred. And so we have some stories to talk about that, but she's been great to have out here to train every now and again. She trains at the Dirty Gym in Dayton, is that right?
Dayton.
And Dayton. And with that, we're going to talk a little bit about your background, right? But here's what I know.
You okay?
And just tell me if I'm right, because I'm in stalker mode, right? The last couple of days.
Why are you so obsessed with me, Dave?
Because you know, that's just what I do. It's like, all right,
it's your
okay.
Job.
Well, it's actually kind of interesting when you do a podcast and you want to have somebody on, you don't want to ask the same things that you ask everybody else, right? So you end up being like stalker mode.
Yeah,
right?
like
so
what haven't you talked about?
It's like, I didn't know that. You know, there's like so many things that you didn't know, because you can train with somebody in a gym for 2 years and still have no idea what they do for work.
100%.
You know, so it becomes like a hack to be able to get to know somebody a little better. So your dad was a powerlifter, is a powerlifter.
Yeah, I would say was. Yeah.
And you were going to meets when you were little. Like how little?
I was probably in maybe like elementary school level, maybe like 5th or 6th grade.
So you're like reading in the back.
Oh yeah, I was so bored. I was out at like the snack concession stands and, you know, just thought it was the silliest thing that I'd ever seen.
Yeah. So how many times did you have to do that?
I think I went to like 2 or 3 meets of his, and then I would go with him when he would train at the gym, and I would do my thing because I was in sports too.
Yeah.
So I would, you know, do a little lifting here and there and, you know, putz around and just kind of watch him and hang out.
All right. So he says, so Amber, we're going to go to this meet today. You're like, damn. Right?
Yep, pretty much.
It sucks just to go watch a meet now.
Really? Yeah, it does.
So then you're stuck there. And it makes me think back when I would see because usually the people in the crowd are family, friends, and other lifters.
Yep.
You got to kind of worry about the person that's the fan.
Yeah.
Travels for hours to do that.
Yeah.
But you wonder what the story is. Like, well, she's there because she has to be there. They can't find a babysitter or whatever it is.
Yeah, like, oh, this is a family event now.
Yeah. Or is she there because dad thinks that maybe she'll want to start training.
Oh,
and this will like inspire her.
That was always his goal. He always tried to get me into it. He was pushing and pushing and was like, you got these genetics, we got this cool stuff. Like you could do like something amazing if you wanted to get into it. And I wanted nothing to do with it. I thought I was like, I had that weird mentality because I was a young girl and I was like, ooh, lifting's for boys and I don't want to get too bulky and I just want to tone.
So when you're at these meets, I mean, we're going way back, but you can remember that age.
Yeah.
I mean, if we go back to like when you're 4, like,
Yeah.
But when you go back, what are some of the memories that you remember from when you did pay attention?
I remember the smells.
Okay.
And I just remember like needing to leave like the platform area because I'm like, it stinks so bad back here.
Okay.
And I think I was just too young, and no, I was old enough to know what was going on, but I was too young to to like appreciate anything or even think it was cool. It was more of like all right, I got to go do something with dad. Because my parents were divorced and I would go with dad on the weekends. So this was, and I'm like, oh my God, it's the weekend. Like I'm trying to hang out. I'm trying to do fun stuff, but we're going to go do this instead.
For a whole day.
Yes.
Yeah. Were there any women competing that you can remember?
I don't recall. I don't think I saw, I think I would have remembered if I saw a female there like competing, because I would have been like, oh, that's interesting. One of us.
Yeah. Yeah. So when did the figure skating come in? Before that?
Yeah, before that, figure skating, that was, I think I started doing that when I was like 5. So I was pretty young, and all throughout elementary school, maybe like 5th or 6th grade, I was, competing, taking lessons, doing the summer camps, all that stuff. And I had to stop because, man, that is an expensive sport. It's a really expensive sport, especially for a single mom. And I was living with mom at that time, and she was like, I just can't do this anymore. And I'm like, well, that sucks.
When did that stop?
Probably 5th or 6th grade.
Okay. And then that migrated into track and field?
Yep. That migrated into track and field. After high school, or in high school, I went to go live with dad and my stepmom. So I'm living there. And they basically just told me, like, do whatever you want, like, figure out what you like. And they gave me that freedom to kind of explore things, which was really cool, because then that's when I started figuring out, like, okay, here's what I like to do, here's what is exciting and fun for me, and what I get, like, gratification out of. So that's when I played in, I did track and field, I did pole vault, high jump, a little bit of shot, and then sprinting, which I loved all of those. Pole vault was like my shit, but I'm way too short to be any good at it, unfortunately. And then I did a little bit of cheerleading. I did basketball, which I was also terrible at. I was just defense only the entire time. Do not pass me that thing. I don't know what to do with it. But yeah, that's how that went. And then in high school, I just got to kind of figure shit out.
So did the sports drop in high school, or did they stay?
Oh, they stayed all throughout high school. I played 2 or 3 sports all 4 years of high school, and then went on to do like club track a little bit when I got to college. And then I joined ROTC. That's how I got in the military, and that, took priority. So
Where'd you go to college?
Bowling Green State University, Ohio.
Yeah.
Yep.
I went there and flunked out of there.
Did you?
Well, I went there, flunked out, stayed a few more years.
Yeah, of course.
And then transferred to Toledo, which is the nemesis. But
Yeah.
how long were you there for the
Rockets.
whole time? I mean, how does the ROTC work when you're in there?
Yep. So you are all 4 years, you're just a traditional college student. So you're going to school, you're taking your classes, you're on your degree track. And then at the same time, you are doing like military training. You're learning how to customs and courtesies and salute and rank structure, like the basics, the stuff that you would learn in basic. And then you're learning all of your leadership skills and your communication and your team building and stuff, all 4 years. So you have an Air Force class that you go to, and then an Air Force lab that you go to. And then in between your sophomore and junior year, you go to this thing called field training, which is a version of like officer basic. It's a few weeks, and you go there and you get, yelled at and whatever, and do all kinds of team building stuff.
What was the degree while you were there?
Russian.
Da. Interesting. So
Yeah.
why Air Force? So you go, did you know when you go, I don't know how the ROTC works, right? So
Yeah.
you go into there, do you have to select at that time? All right, so why Air Force?
Because dad said no to the Marine Corps.
Okay.
So he was a Marine.
Yeah.
Everyone in my family has some sort of military background, pretty much, mostly Marine Corps, some Army. I'm the only Air Force. So we had this discussion. I was like, listen, I got to figure out a way to pay for college. That was like, because my parents couldn't do it. We didn't qualify for any of like the student loans or anything. My dad, he's an excavator. My stepmom's a nurse. So like, we're trying to figure out, like, we do okay. So we wouldn't like qualify for anything at that point. But like, I'm on my own. I got to figure it out. So I either have to take out personal loans, and then growing up in a military family, that sense of like service and like patriotism, it sounds corny, but like that's always been there. And, that's why Air Force was the choice, because they had, great program. As soon as I declared my major as Russian, because that's one of like the critical languages, they said, okay, cool, we're going to pay for school. Like they sent me abroad, they did all this stuff, and it was a great deal. And, it was something that, I didn't want to pass up and didn't want to like squander. So I went that route. And then I also went the officer route. I think I'm the only one in my family that went officer. Everyone else is enlisted. So they were like, yeah, go do it.
Was there any club sports or anything like that during this time?
No.
All right. So you had was it necessary though, or was the ROTC kind of covering that?
Yeah, it was covering it. So we had PT 3 times a week in the morning. So I was doing a lot of running, a lot of just cardio, push-ups, sit-ups, like CrossFit. That was kind of like before CrossFit was a thing, or as it was being introduced to the world. So like that type of training style is what I was doing.
I faintly remember ROTC when I was in college, right? And they were like
Nerds,
right? Like,
yeah.
Did you have to? Were you in a bubble? Kind of because of that.
Not really, and I'm grateful for that. Like I had a normal college experience.
Yeah.
Like ROTC was 3 times a week PT, an hour of class a week, and then 2 hours of lab. And like that's like nothing compared to, and then I had like a full course load and everything. So I don't think I was in a bubble, but I definitely was like, okay, I have this goal. The goal is to commission and like get that guaranteed job and go serve and do my thing. So I had to focus on that because it wasn't easy to get through ROTC. Like the dropout rate, it wasn't great. Like we weren't hiring at the time. So I knew I like had to have all my ducks in a row because I'm like, this is how I'm going to eat. This is how I'm going to survive. So I focused very heavily on doing well in the program and getting the career field that I wanted, getting the job that I wanted, and like starting that life.
When you graduate, then you have to decide, are you going to stay in ROTC or are you going to go Air Force? Is that how it works?
So when you graduate, like they'll contract you, just like, you raise your right hand, you get contracted, you're government property while you're in college. So if they start paying for school, they'll contract you. So they started paying for school, I think, my sophomore year. So I had 3 years of school paid for. I contracted, so I was technically in. And then as soon as I graduated, I commissioned as a second lieutenant, and that's where you start your military career. So you graduate college, get your degree, then you go off to your first assignment, training, all that stuff, and then you actually learn your job.
Where was the training at?
My first training base was Goodfellow Air Force Base in San Angelo, Texas.
And how long was that?
Was it 8 or 9 months?
Yeah. Now, when you say you learn your job, do you select that, or is it like you're doing this?
I mean, if it depends on needs of the Air Force. So there's all this, like what jobs need more people. So there's everything. Like we have cops, we have civil engineers, we have regular engineers, we have scientists, we have intel, we have pilots, like everything. So it's based off of what you put on like your dream sheet, like what you say you want to do, and then where you're needed. And that is kind of like where the service part comes in, because you're like, I don't know what I'm going to get.
Yeah.
I have no idea. So thankfully, I got my top choice is what I wanted to do. Because, I mean, if you perform well enough and you have a good ranking and you're doing okay, then there's a better chance for you to get the thing that you want to go do.
What was your top choice?
My top choice was Intel.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm one of those nerds.
Russian spy.
Yeah. I wish it was that cool. Once I thought I had these like grand ideas of like, oh, we're going to go in and this is going to be, spy versus spy, super cool stuff. And then I get in and I'm like, man, this is some nerdy shit.
Yeah.
It's a lot of like just problem solving and making assessments on things and taking all different types of information, putting it together, and then coming up with either courses of action or solutions or here's what I think's going on. and then telling that to people who make decisions so that they can go make decisions.
How much did you get bumped around at the beginning? So you started there, and then how long until you had to go somewhere else?
I started there, and then I got stationed in Clovis, New Mexico. That was my first duty station. I was there for, I don't know, maybe 4 years.
Is that where the rollerblading came?
Yep.
Derby came in?
Yep, that's where roller derby came in.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was out there doing the job. Super cool mission. I really liked my job. I hated the location. Like, there was nothing, absolutely nothing out there. And, you know, that itch started coming. I'm out of college. I don't have to go through all these, like, mandatory PT things. And I'm like, I need something to do. I can't not do something physical. Like, that ain't me.
Yeah, so why did you decide just knocking the shit out of other people?
I mean, come on, that sounds pretty fun. It was so, like, the figure skating background came in. I found this derby team out there. They were small, just starting out. I'm like, you know what? This seems kind of fun. I'll give it a shot. And then that's when I started and joined the team, did tryouts, did all that stuff, and then just, you know, started playing. And we went all around West Texas. So I played for Clovis, and then I went to a bigger team in West Texas, in Lubbock. So my buddy and I, Jennifer, we would drive 2 hours, I think it was 2 or 3 times a week, to Lubbock to go train across a time change zone because it's West Texas. Yeah. And then we come back and, you know, we just, every like sport, everything that I do, it's like all in, all or nothing. Like, I cannot half-ass shit. And that sucks sometimes, because then you start adding so much stuff on your plate. And you're like, crap, how do I keep up? How do I whole ass all of these things? So that, and then I was just all in on roller derby. Like, that was my shit.
Yes, and that led you back to the weight room.
Yeah, because I'm like, okay. And, like, my thing, I was a blocker. Like, I was fast and I could maneuver and stuff, and I could be the point scorer, but I was really good at getting in the way. And I was really good at hitting. I was very good at communicating, like, on the track. So, like, skating backwards and, like, looking and seeing where everyone was and communicating that to my team so that they knew where to be. So that was my role, and I really, really enjoyed it. Yeah.
How did that lead to back to the weight room, though? 'Cause you want to be, obviously you wanted to be stronger.
Yep.
But you're in the middle of nowhere. Right?
Yep. So my friend Jen and I, we were like, all right, we gotta start lifting weights. We gotta get stronger. If I want to hit people harder, I need to be stronger. I want to be bigger. So then, now my dad chimes in and he's like, "This is fucking great." Like,
that's what I was gonna say. You call your dad and you say, "I need to get stronger. What should I do?"
Finally, you dumbass! Like, I've been telling you this for years. Yeah, that was pretty much it. Jen and I started training. We started doing, like, squat, bench, deadlift. It was very, very rudimentary. It was very bodybuilder-esque style, but
where though?
I mean, there was just a local gym in New Mexico. I don't even know what it was called. It wasn't, it was like some Globo gym we went to. Also, all of the bases have gyms that are pretty nice, and the one in Cannon was also really nice. So I was able to go there and do that stuff there. And we just kind of putzed around, and I don't even know if I got any stronger because I wasn't like testing anything, but I was feeling good and people were flying through the wall. So
how long was it from the time that you call your dad and say, "Hey, look, I'm going to start training," to him start pushing, "Hey, you should probably find a meet somewhere"?
Yeah. So he actually didn't do that.
Yeah.
He didn't. And I was surprised. He was really supportive, and he's always been super supportive. It's always been very much like, go do what you want to do, figure shit out, like, be self-sufficient, be able to support yourself so that you can go do the things that you want to do, and, like, just get it done. I'm like, all right, we'll do it. But he was always like, okay, let's look at what you're doing. Let's try and figure out some sort of plan, or even if there wasn't a plan, he just wanted to be updated because he liked it. He wanted to know what I was doing. And every time I think I hit my first, like, one plate squat. I called him up and he was so pumped. So he's always been a part of that.
How did you then get introduced into powerlifting?
Yeah. So that was
Or reintroduced?
reintroduced.
I'm intrigued, right? Because your prior experience with it isn't really good.
No, it was weird.
Yeah. So how did this reintroduction happen?
So that happened. I did my time. I'm talking about it like it's prison. I did my time in New Mexico, got another assignment, got the assignment that I wanted to here, right, at Dayton, Ohio. And then I was like, okay, I got to find a roller derby team. And then I found a team out here, and it was a way bigger team. And every roller derby league is all like skater owned and operated. They're all 501(c)(3)s. They're all nonprofits. They're all like owned and operated. There's nothing for like I think it's the World Flat Track Derby Association WIFDA. I don't remember if it's called that or not anymore. I've been out of the game so long. And that was just, it would have been too much for me to do this job and also commit to that team. Because it was a lot more serious of a team. Like, they were better, they were more organized, all of this stuff. And I would have had to have a job and a role, like whether it would be on like the training committee or the like recruiting or marketing, something like that. Every skater has a role and a job.
Okay, so you become part of this nonprofit, more or less. Okay.
Yeah. So I wasn't able to make that commitment when I first got there. So I was like, all right, well, Derby will take a back seat. This sucks. Let's put some more time and effort and let's train really hard. So when I am able to come back to Derby, like, I'm ready to go. And that's when I found the Dirty Gym in Ohio. And I walked into that place. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
What is all this stuff? There's like, it looked like a BDSM scene. There's like chains on the wall. There's, bars I'd never seen before in my life. So I walk in, and I think I had met one of my first coach. And I was like, well, yeah, I want to get stronger for Derby. And I was like, okay, cool. You're joining the team. And I was like, all right, sweet. So I got roped into joining our powerlifting team, joined that, trained for a few months, and then they had a meet, and they were like, okay, you're going to do this meet. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do the meet. And then that was it. I did the
2016?
meet. Yes, that was my first meet, Dirty Gym, 2016. I had trained for it a little bit, but they just kind of threw me into the wolves, and I had no idea what I was doing.
Okay, well, all right, walk me through this, right? So now you're walking back into a meet.
Yeah.
And it's different. When was your dad competing? So we going like
Early 2000s, late 90s.
All right, so you're talking about a meet probably in a hotel, maybe a gym.
Yeah, I think it was like a high school rec center.
Like a high school. It wasn't a gym though.
No.
It was before that. So now you're walking into, well, actually the meet is probably where you train. So now you're walking to the gym one day, and it's not really the gym, it's the meet.
Yep.
Walk me through that day, right? Because
actually,
did you see any like girls sitting in the back reading books?
No, I did not. I didn't. I should have paid more attention to it. And I don't know, was my dad at that one? I can't remember, because they live up in Northeast Ohio. So they're like 2.5 hours away. I don't think he came to that one, but he's been at most of them ever since. But I don't think I saw. Actually, come to think of it, I always see some kid at powerlifting meets just like off in the corner, just hanging out. I'm like, shit, that was me one day. But yeah, I walked into the gym, and it was just like any other training day. I'm like, okay, we're just going to go heavy today. Cool. Like, I don't know. I think I didn't even have a pair of knee sleeves. I didn't have shit. I just came in a pair of like running sneakers or something ridiculous and just went for it.
How'd that go? What were your numbers?
Oh, shit. I think my squat was like 280 something. I think I benched 135. And then my deadlift, I started off, I loved deadlifting. I fucking hate it now, but I used to love it. Like, that was my thing. I think I deadlifted like 374, whatever the kilo was.
Then how did you feel after the meet?
Oh, I was jazzed. I was ready to go, just like all in again on something, because it was exciting. It was fun. And it was like, these were numbers that I'd never touched before, never did it at all. And like, I was hooked.
In the past six years, I think there's 20 meets.
Yeah.
So obviously, so
Told you, whole
yeah,
ass.
Yeah. So when this journey starts at that point, then you're back to the gym. It makes sense now, because if you're in a place where everybody is competing, then you have to figure out how you're going to compete.
Yep.
So is it predominantly all raw, or is it predominantly multi? Ohio's weird because it's like a lot of more multiply than you're going to find the rest.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was cool because I didn't really have a chance to say like, oh no, pump the brakes, or because it was that like hive mind situation. Like I didn't join the gym, I joined the team. So I was like, okay, I got teammates that I'm training with. They're training for the same thing. We're going to compete against each other, but like, we're doing this together. And that like scratched the itch of the lack of not doing a team sport anymore that I had left from roller derby.
How you're going to define a team and leadership is going to be vastly different than how most lifters are going to.
Yeah.
Just going through your background and your history.
Yeah.
So how frustrating is that?
It's so frustrating. It's probably one of the number one most frustrating things that I have about this sport.
Why?
Because powerlifting is one of those things where the fans are the participants. So it's like everyone's trying to do the same thing. We're all squatting, benching, and deadlifting. We're all, granted, it might be in different federations, whatever, but it's all the same. It's all the same shit. And like trying to get people together to understand the value of training with others or even near others. And like, hey, we're going to start at this time. We're going to all do our warm-ups together. We're going to use each other to get better. But like, nobody wants to do that.
But you see what I'm saying? You teach that more. You see,
Exactly.
I'm not got there yet, but
Yeah.
this is something that you teach, and there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
And it's a big disconnect.
Yeah.
Where, if you could wave a magic wand, what would be the first thing that needs to be connected?
Yeah. It would, it's hard to convince people to do something, especially if they all come from different backgrounds, because there's a lot of people that start powerlifting who haven't done team sports or who don't have that, like, they don't know what it could be like. So they come in and, it's very individual and all of that stuff. And everywhere I try to go, like I've been all over gyms, I get stationed everywhere. And I'm like, okay, first things first, let's find some people. Because I can't train multiply by myself. I'm going to have to teach someone how to run a mono, how to lace me up, how to do all this stuff. And then that's usually like, it takes time. And there's no like fast track for it. And building a team takes time in anything, because there's going to be those different stages of, well, so-and-so doesn't like so-and-so. And, this person's always late, or this person has these deficiencies, or this person thinks that they're hot shit. So like dealing with those team dynamics and trying to manage that on top of like trying to progress yourself it's a lot, but I do believe it's worth it.
Could it be a lack of a mission, right? To where and this is what I've seen over my post West Side days, is if they're all training for the same meet, things dial in.
Yep.
Right, they're all close. It's almost where I would say it needs, halfway where it needs to be.
Yeah.
Okay, halfway there. If they're not, like if it's a meet here, meet here, meet here, or they don't really have figured out where it is, it's a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
Right, to where in team sports, and I'm sure in the Air Force, there's a mission here, that everybody's striving for that same mission. So sometimes it doesn't matter your feelings or who the fuck you are.
Exactly.
It still has to get done. To where if there's people that are part of this powerlifting team or the same gym, say they're part of the same gym, and their mission is non-existent for one thing,
Yeah.
or scattered throughout.
Yeah.
I think that's would be, without that, how do you build the rest?
Right. Yeah. That's what it all comes down to, is like exactly that, the mission. And I think if that's not articulated, like there's times that it has come together.
Yeah.
Like, good example, we had a giant group of people go do Laura's meet north of the border. Everyone was on the same prep schedule. Everyone was peaking at the same time and everything. And that went really well. But then you have some folks who are like, oh, I just registered for a meet. And we were like, wait, what? That's not the mission.
Yeah.
Like, reel it back in. So it comes down to like communication from like in your crews, everyone has like a different role. Like there's the leader, there's the helper, there's the quiet, like it's just, that's how it is in any group dynamic. And if that like leadership role isn't communicating well to the masses, and they're not saying what they need or hey, we're going to do this. Like when I walked into that gym, the coach was like, hey, we're doing a meet. All right, we're doing a meet. Got it. Like, I will execute. Like, here's your marching orders. Go do that.
Have you found as you've gotten stronger and better in the sport that you become default leader?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people will look at, okay, that person's really strong. They must be in charge, which is not always the thing. It shouldn't be, at least. And then sometimes it is. Sometimes it works out really well that you have that person that can walk the walk, talk the talk, and then also guide people to whatever their personal goals are, but then also like keep them on track for the team.
Yeah. Well, with strength, with leadership comes responsibility. With strength comes responsibility.
Yeah.
Correct. How, as you're moving through this powerlifting career, at what point did you start to think, I can be really good?
I don't think I've ever had that thought. I still don't have that
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that like never enough thing of, okay, I did a meet, got it. I got the things that I came there to get. Now what? Like there was never any moment where I was like, man, I'm pretty sick at this. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's always just been like, all right, show up, do your work, do the thing that you want to do. And like, here's your goals, here's your numbers, here's, your rate of growth or whatever you're using to track those goals. And then you just keep going. There's like no end.
Yes. So what do you use to track the goals?
I mean, there's the numbers side of things, and then there's also the feeling side of things, like the intangibles that are hard to measure, but like numbers are easy. And having a plan, like my coach and I, we work off of Olympiads, so a 4-year plan, and we look at, and then we just break it down. Okay, so if we're here right now, and we want to get to here at end of year 4 or the next year or the third year, what do we need to do to get to those numbers? And then also like there are so many different ways to measure success. Like, is it the number? Is it the weight on the bar? Is it your ranking? Is it your coefficient? Is it your total? Is it just your bench? Is it world records? So we kind of parse all of those out and then prioritize and triage. Okay, what is most important to me? And then base those goals and like the path to get those goals off of that, kind of working backwards, if that makes sense.
No, it does. I mean, I would call it a quadrennial. So if it's a quadrennial and you're working back, for you, what are those main drivers?
Oh, like okay.
Yeah.
So my main priorities, I guess non-numbers wise, like I want to be proficient in multiple areas of the sport. So I do raw and I do multiply, and I want to be an elite power lifter in both of those things and all of it. I mean, I messed around in bench only. Like when someone says like, I don't want to be qualified as like, oh, she's a really good equipped lifter. She's really good in wraps. She's really good in sleeves. She's a great bencher. And like, no, I want to be a good power lifter. Like that's what I'm quantifying it as. World records are very important to me. Like I've been chasing those. And then like overall rankings. Mm-hmm. And those are like what I always come back to.
All right. So if you're at the top end of all those now, right? So if you're looking forward, I don't know where you're sitting in this quadrennial. I don't know well, where are you? Is it 1 year in, 2 years in, 3 years in? Where are you at?
I think I'm in the 3rd year right now.
Okay. So it's about where it should be, for where the overall.
Where we started, yeah.
All right, because where it gets fucked is once you get to the 4th year.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, shit, am I going to do this in 365 days?
Well, yeah, you get there, but it's kind of the caveat of once you hit all the things that you want to hit. So now you hit all those, and it's like, okay, I know I need another long-term plan, but is it maintained?
Yeah, when does it end?
Well, yeah, and what does it become?
Yeah.
Because if you've hit everything that you've put out there and it's all there, then it's a maintain, but it's not really maintained because you can't do that.
Yep.
Because somebody else is going to have a plan that's
Yeah,
ranked
same
under
way.
you, to be able to knock that out.
Yeah.
When did you decide that it wanted to become multifaceted in all disciplines?
I think it was after I did my first equipped meet, and that I did that equipped meet, and then I went back to raw, and it also had to do with like people saying like, oh no, you can't do that.
What do you mean?
You can't be good at both of them. You can't be a really good equipped lifter and a really good raw lifter, or like you're gonna have to choose. And I've been told that quite often. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I don't have to choose.
Do they give you a reason why?
No, never.
I'm interested to know.
Yeah. It's usually like, well, it's not sustainable. It's, you're going to get hurt. I don't know.
Because I would think that what you do is more sustainable.
Yeah, and that's what I always argue with of like, yeah, I go back and forth. But the reason I've been able to do this is because I started in gear early, and the gear helps my raw. The raw helps my gear, and I just flip-flop back and forth, and one goes up, the other one goes up a little bit, the other one goes up a little bit more, and you just compound that over time.
So you've had to become good at kind of ignoring a lot of people.
Yeah. There's always going to be naysayers, but more often than not, like there's overwhelming support for it, and people are excited, and I see more and more people doing both, and I think that's really cool because that bridges the gap between those two worlds, because there's a gap.
No, and I think if your goal is strong enough, and I mean you got a 4-year plan for this whatever goal is, a small drama is not going to deter that.
No.
There's already too much invested in it.
Oh yeah.
To be able to kind of go that route. When you break down does your average training week change throughout the year?
Yes, it does.
As far as days that you do certain things, or just everything?
Overall, everything. So like off season looks totally different than in season. My equipped prep looks totally different than a raw prep. Typically it stays around like 4 days a week, and whatever happens in those 4 days is what I'm trying to do at that point in time. So like I just am kind of coming off an off season. The last meet I did was the American Pro at the end of July, I think. So then after that, it took some time to recover, and then it turned into, okay, I need to get my baseline back. I need to get healthy. I need to get in shape. I need to prep for my prep. So you saw a lot of CrossFit, all that shit.
Yes. How long does that take?
It just depends. It all revolves around what meets I choose to do. And I was going hard for a while, and I didn't have a chance to really do any of that stuff for like maybe 2 years. Yeah. And it was just in very small chunks when I would pull back. This is probably the longest that I've taken off since I've started.
And how long's that been?
July to now.
Okay. So what's a week look like in this off season time?
So it's broken out. You have, 2 upper days, 2 lower days. It's very like conjugate style. Like if you want to use a template for something, like you can kind of make that based off of it. So, I don't want to talk about, right now I'm squatting 4 times a week. So
Just
we
basic,
won't get to that.
yeah, basic.
Yeah, basic. It's 2 upper, 2 lower, a squat of some variation, and then the other lower is a deadlift of some variation or a good morning of some variation, and then some sort of either bench press with like specialty bar, dumbbell. Like you'll have your max effort bench press, and then you'll have I don't want to call it speed day, but more high volume bench. So like 2 bench days. It doesn't necessarily have to be bench either. It could be like a dumbbell variation or something different. And then it's a lot of bodybuilding.
So what's the second movement? Is the second movement still heavy and hard, or is it going straight into the accessories?
It's going straight into the accessories.
Right. And then how many on average? I know it changes.
Maybe like 4 to 5. And that's including like the finisher with some sort of like ab work, or if there's like a cardio circuit or something in there at the end. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of like we'll do our rows, our lunges, our reverse hypers, all that stuff.
So during the conditioning block, where do the repetition ranges fall on all those?
Probably like 12 to 15 for maybe like 3 to 4 sets each. And they're higher rep, lower weight, but more like controlled movements, like longer time under tension, longer, like really paying attention to how your body's moving and getting those like good contractions in.
So when you say controlled, just the tempo is controlled and the intent is different. The conditioning then, say aerobic conditioning, all the other stuff, where does that fall, or does it not even fall in there?
It does fall in there. Those will be more like feeder workouts for me. It'll be like its own thing, like a quick like 15, 20 minute like WOD of some sort of like, okay, we'll do some box jumps or some sort of circuit, box jumps, burpees, or I'll go drag a sled for 15 minutes, or hey, I just need you to walk today.
Yeah, and where's this at?
Like within the program?
Just within your schedule, because you still have other shit that you're doing.
Yeah, so I work until like 4:35 every night, and then I just head to the gym.
Okay. So these small ones are still being done at the gym. It's just a habit. So you're in there pretty much every day.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's the feeder or recovery based upon how you feel, I assume.
Yeah. And it's really flexible too. Like if I show up there and I'm supposed to do something, I'm supposed to do like one of the more taxing workouts that we have, and I'm just not feeling it, I'll do a feeder workout instead. Or I'll do, I'll just do my walk. So I'm like, I don't got it in me today.
And when did you start to figure that out?
This was maybe a few years ago, and my coach and I talked about this, and it was a mindset shift to go from, okay, I have to do all these things. I'm doing the check boxes, the checklists. Here's what I have to do, into, okay, we need to learn how to auto-regulate now. Like you need to learn how to listen to yourself, listen to your body, and then know when something's not going to be worth it.
And what are the indicators that you would say? So I'm trying to get people to understand exactly what you just said. So what are those indicators that this isn't there, or it is, or this is just my mind playing tricks on me?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say like my biggest one is like tiredness, and like not like fatigue tired, but like sleepy tired. Like everyone knows what it feels like to be sleepy. And if I go into the gym, and even if I'm all hyped up on Mountain Dew and caffeine, whatever, like you still feel that. And paying attention to those like indications and warnings. Like if I'm trying to jack myself up for something, a training session, like I know what that feels like to myself. And it's different for everyone. So it's hard to say like what it would feel like for you is totally different what it would feel like for me. And then some people's indicators or thresholds are a lot lower than others. So some people will be like, oh, well, I just don't feel like it, or you know,
Yeah.
it's easy to just don't even drive there. I'm not feeling it today. Versus, okay, am I going to get something out of this if I do it? Or is it going to harm me for the next session? And that's just going to like make it so that I can't do the thing that I really need to do to progress.
Yeah.
So tiredness, like actual sleepiness, and also just recovery fatigue. Like if my joints are hurting, which they do all the time,
Yeah.
but if they're like in a bad spot or something is like pinching or there's actual pain, I'm like, nah, we're going to call it. Or if I start doing a workout and form is just totally breaking down because I decided to suck it up and say, no, I'm going to do this. Like I have to get it done. Form totally breaks down. I'm like, listen, this ain't happening today. And then we call it and go for a walk.
All right. So I was going to say, what do you do after you call it?
Mm-hmm.
You still do accessories, or you just walk, or it's just you're out?
It depends on how bad it is.
Yeah.
So like if it's a total like crash and burn shit show, I'll just go home.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's something where I'm like, okay, this thing isn't here today because of X, Y, and Z, but I can at least go do this, and this will be steps in the right direction and helpful, then I'll go do that. Which is usually like I'll go drag a sled or I'll go walk or I'll, you know, throw a weight vest on and walk around the gym a few times and then head home, or I'll stretch or do some sort of mobility.
So either way, the processing is this moving toward or away?
Yeah.
Which is kind of, you know,
It's hard to quantify.
What it is, and it's also kind of common sense, but it's also something that I think most people don't do because here's the paper, here's the sheet, I have to do that.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot that can go wrong in all directions, you know, with that.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot that can go wrong if you just don't want to do it.
Oh yeah. And that's easy to well, I don't think I've ever fallen into that category. Like there are times like I show up at the gym and I'm like, I don't want to fucking do this. Like that happens to everyone.
Yeah.
And there's like a difference between the want and the have to, and then bridging the gap between those two things to say, okay, I don't want to do this, but I have to do this. But if I do it, it's going to be counterproductive. And knowing where that threshold is for you yourself to make that call took a long time for me to figure out.
Yes. What was there anything that helped you to figure that out, or anything that clicked?
I don't think I had like a light bulb moment, but my coach was always really good at, like I've had the same coach since 2016, and he knows my shit, like what goes on between the ears. He knows what looks right. And he's been very good of like seeing something that I do and knowing that that's not me. That's not good right now. And before I learned how to call it myself, we would have a discussion and he would talk me through that process of like, hey, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? Why is this the way it is? What did you do yesterday? What did you do the day before yesterday? And why do you think that you're fucked up right now?
Yeah.
And then he like walked me through that thought process. And I'm like, okay, cool. And now I was able to over time recognize it myself. And if I need to stretch a training week out to, instead of 7 days, maybe to 12 days and give myself some extra days in between there to recover, then I do that.
Mm-hmm. And you also coach and help mentor, other people. So how do you do that how do you help them with what you're talking about?
It's a lot of just talking it out and having them, like, you're going to have to work through it on your own at some point, but asking those questions and like prompting people to think about things. And it depends on what the situation is too. And like, okay, well, what did you eat today? Did you eat today? And like digging and finding those little like key indicators that someone probably has or is going through, or like, I just went through this thing, or like grandma's sick. Like everyone has shit going on in their lives, and you try and like get to the root cause of the problem, not just like, oh, my tummy hurts or something like that.
Well, that's the root cause is, I mean, a lot of people have a hard time with just accountability, especially in powerlifting. Like every
Yeah.
missed lift wasn't their fault.
Oh yeah,
It was
yeah.
something else.
Not my day.
Yeah, if they didn't sleep well, it was always somebody else's fault. So there's sometimes I guess it would be, sometimes it's not. So there's figuring that out, but flipping it onto that person to be able to understand that they can control a lot of these variables. With your military background, is how do you walk that line?
It really depends on the person. So like I have to modify the way that I speak to every different person if I'm trying to help them with something. If I know this person, like inside my core, I want to treat everyone exactly the same. But I know this person will break if I say this certain thing to them, or this person needs tough love, or this person can handle what I'm about to say, because some people can't. And trying to figure out how to manipulate your narrative in order to get the point across to that person in a way that they will be able to understand and then also take and run with. And it's different every time.
Yes.
And it's hard to be able to like do those mental gymnastics when I just want to be like, shut up, get your shit done. Like, the problem is you.
Yes. How is that? Because if I'm not mistaken, when we talked before, what you do now is teach communication to cadets, right?
Yeah.
So I am assuming that that's a big different environment
Oh, yeah.
than the others. So with them, do you have to do the same mental gymnastics, or is it pretty much just shut up, do this, and go?
With them, it's a lot easier because they like, it comes back to the mission. They have this mission. They want to be officers.
Yeah.
Like they're on this track and they know what to do. And I'm giving them, my team and I are giving them all the tools that they need to get to that goal, and like building officers for the Air Force. That's my mission. And their mission is to become officers. So they're all on the same page mentally for the most part.
Yeah.
They're the outliers that are just, and they usually weed themselves out. So I'm able to kind of not have like the kid gloves on a lot of times there and just be like, you know what you need to do. Here's the list of things that you need to do. Do them. If you need help doing them or you don't understand something, that's what I'm here for. And I'm here to guide you through the process, to teach you the things that you need to know in order to commission and then go off and be successful. And I'm trying to create people that I would want to work with. And when you're in the military, like sometimes you don't get the like nicety of having the warm fuzzy. Like sometimes you just have to go do the thing because someone said get it done. And there's a time and a place, obviously, like question everything, ask the why, try and figure out on your own, ask your leadership, all that stuff. But sometimes you just got to go get it done. And they get that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people that I've coached and I've talked to, they also get that sometimes eventually. And then the ones who don't are usually the ones that aren't very successful, or they're not making progress like they would want. And then like I can't teach someone to realize that things are their fault. Like it's hard to get that point across to someone if someone isn't even in the right mindset to like receive that information and understand it.
I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. If their goal or their objective isn't well established, then everything else can crumble underneath it.
Yeah.
Or they're not sure. I guess with a lot of lifters, you're gonna, we're sitting here talking about quadrennials. They're like, fuck, I don't even know if I'm gonna make it to this next meet.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, that's a problem though too. It's like, are you doing the meet or not doing the meet?
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's a difference between deciding you're gonna do something and then getting super hurt and not being able to do it.
Yeah.
Or thinking or wanting to do it and just seeing how things roll. And if you feel good, you'll go into it.
Yeah, exactly. And there are some people that are like that. I've coached people who are, or there's also people who are like, yeah, I just want to get hot and look good naked. And like, this seems fun.
Yeah.
I'm like, cool. We can still do that.
Yeah.
Like we can absolutely do that. I'm not going to treat them like the people who come to me and are like, I want to be the best in the world. I want to be number one, all this stuff that usually ends poorly, if that's what they come out saying initially, we're not going to treat them like the person who wants to be a competitor and progress and get the invites to the big meets and all of that stuff. Like, they're there for fun, and we're going to do the program and, get them to where they want to go, even though, like, it's not a competition based thing for someone who has that goal versus someone who wants to, like, actually do something with, like, records and things.
When you lay out your annual plan, because you're at a level where there's money meets raw, and then there's the big meets and equipment.
Yeah.
Right. I want to say money meets, but none of them are really money meets.
Yeah.
Which one? Because you got to build an annual plan based upon that, but you don't. You got, like, your anchor has to be something.
Yeah.
Is the anchor the multiply meet, or is the anchor the raw meet? Because that's going to assume how your plan goes. Because I assume you're going to have off season, you're going to go raw, then you're going to go multiply, and then maybe from there transfer to raw, and then first off, how's that layout?
Yeah. So that's the thing. It's hard to plan when these meets, like, I know there are certain meets that are going to be held every year.
Yeah.
So I look at those further down the line, and that is very helpful. Like, I know that the Pro-Am is every year, and I love doing that meet, and I have a good time there, and I know that I'm going to do that meet every time.
And that's multiply. Okay.
Yeah, multiply. And then the other ones, like, I've dabbled around. I've done the Kern, I've done the Showdown, I did the American Pro. I know the American Pro is coming up again, and I plan for that one. There was one year that I decided that, okay, mini goal, I want to do the 3 biggest meets. I want to do the WPO equipped, you know what I'm saying, biggest meets. The WPO equipped, I want to do the Kern in wraps, and then I want to do Showdown in sleeves, and I want to do the 3 biggest meets in 1 year in each, like, specialty. And that was a rough year, but
Well, I was going to say, they don't fall optimally for that to happen.
no, they don't, because, like, it's hard to try and time and, like, space those things out. If I decided, which I did decide, that I wanted to do something weird and off the cuff like that. But now I'm a little bit more strategic about the meets that I choose to do, just because it's the planning that goes into it, and I'm handling weights that are just, they beat the shit out of me, and I can't just continue to go that hard all the time. So Pro-Am's one that is, always there, standalone, Old Faithful, and then American Pro this year, doing that one again. And I like to say, I don't base my decision making on what meets I do off of, like, the prize pot, because I've never really, I've won some money, but I want to go and compete where there's competition. And that's the driving factor on where I choose to go and compete.
You don't always know where that's going to be, though.
No. I do know.
Multiply,
Yeah, multiply.
Yeah.
And it's usually, like, the invite onlys. Like, if you say, and there are lots of invite onlys, and you'll get an invitation to a meet, and you're like, okay. And you don't want to be that guy, like, oh, who else is going? And you might not even see the roster until the day of. But there are certain things that are known. Like, I know that the American Pro is going to have killers in it. I know that, like, the Kern, like, you have to have, like, this qualifying dots score or whatever to even get in the door. So I know that there's going to be competition at most of these that I'm choosing to do.
How do you help your clients navigate what meets they're going to do?
So if they're local, we all kind of get together and decide, because we want everyone to do the same meets.
Yes.
Roll in as a team. That worked out really well with North of the Border. It's worked out really well in the past. And then before COVID, it was great. Like, most of the women would all do the Pro-Am. There's 2 days. They could do the amateur day, and then the pros qualify for the pro day. And just kind of try to get everyone on the same page. And there are some people who are like, okay, I want to go do those money meets. I want to go do the big shows or whatever. And then we look at, okay, what stepping stones do we need to take to get you there? Because the first things first, we have to qualify you. So what's available in the local area? Are you willing to travel? Are you able to travel? And then just looking at that big picture of like, okay, timeline, let's walk it back from, okay, I want to do American Pro in 2024. Someone says that. And I'm like, okay, let's walk it back. What do you need to qualify? What did they take to qualify for this year's? Let's work on that. Let's work on getting you those qualifying numbers and look at meets in between now and then that we can prep you for to get the qualification and then get the invite and then go to the show.
And how's the compliance when you have those discussions?
Compliance. That's one of my favorite words recently. Usually, I don't know, it's hit or miss. I haven't had someone come to me in a long time who said that they wanted to do something like that. A lot of the people that we're working with right now are just like, hey, I want to have fun and do powerlifting and get better and competing against myself. And if I win something, that's cool. If not, whatever. And it's hard to like take a step back because that's not how I am at all.
But that's how you started in a way.
Exactly. And I have to like try and remember like this is where they're at. They're 2016 Amber right now. Okay, so like go back, become 2016 Amber and help them how you would have wanted to be helped back then.
Okay. And what is that difference?
Basically just like less hands-on,
Such
less
as?
like pushing or like less pressure. I guess just giving them, okay, here, like giving them the possibilities. Like you have the potential to do this. Like here are your possibilities. If you want to go this route, this is what it's going to take. If you want to go that route, this is what you're going to have to do. And then if you want to keep doing what you're doing, let's just keep doing that. But letting them know like all of the different possibilities so that they can make that decision on their own, I think is really important because that is what was given to me.
Yeah.
Like I came in, nobody was like, oh yeah, she's gonna be great at powerlifting. But there were people there that told me like, okay, if this is something you really want to do, here's how you get there. And we'll help you get there. You're going to have to do it. I can't lift the weights for you, but just articulating all the options that someone has, even if they just want to stay there and have fun and do what they're doing, which is cool. I envy people like that sometimes.
Why?
Just this less stress, less pressure. I try and like go back to that mindset quite often. I was like, is this fun?
Is it?
It is. It is super fun. Like I always told myself, like the minute it starts becoming not fun, like it's not worth it anymore.
Well, with the pressure, it's self-imposed.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right. So that's the trick.
Yep.
Right. You feel it all, then at some point you realize I'm the one that's doing it, but
Yeah.
without it, you're not going to be able to do what you want to do. Mm-hmm. So
You have to find that like perfect amount.
Yeah.
And go back and forth between that. Oh, okay, I don't need so much pressure here, but I know what to do and I know it needs to be done. So I'm just going to do it. And then once it's time to inflict a little more of that, then.
Yeah. Tell me about a time where you put too much pressure on yourself.
Let me think. I think it was when I moved assignment in Ohio. I got an assignment in DC. So then I had to move to DC. And this was when I was in the thick of multiply and I was going to the WPO semifinals at the Arnold. This was the COVID Classic year. And I had to find a crew. I had to find people to help me because I needed to train for it. And there's like hardly any equipped lifting out there. I found one of Laura's clients, my buddy Alfredo. He's an equipped lifter, found a place, and it was just us for a little bit. And then our buddy Ian. And I was like, this is the first time I'm going to get to go. Because that was my like dream. I was like, I want to go to the WPO. Like, this is so cool. This is the big show. Like, this is all of where all the best of the best go to compete. Like, I want to go see how I can do there. And that was a lot of pressure I put on myself of like, oh, well, she did this at this meet, and then she did that at that meet, and she was putting like 100 pounds on her squat every meet. And I'm like, I got to keep that up. Like, I got to keep the momentum. And then when that didn't happen, I'm like, what's wrong with me? Like, why am I fucking up? And that I cracked, I bombed. That on top of trying to figure out how to train in a new place and like forcing myself and saying, oh, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to be fine. And it was not fine. So that was a lot of pressure that I put on myself for that meet specifically. And then once it happened, I was like, that sucked. Where did I go wrong? And tried to like dissect all of like the mental stuff that went into that prep and figured out like I did that to myself.
Yeah. What were some of the bigger things that you thought went wrong?
Just like forcing stuff or cutting corners. Like I was squatting to high ass boxes. I had like yes men, whatever, like syndrome of like, oh yeah, that was good. Like no one was there. Like I didn't have my crew. I didn't have my team anymore. Alfredo was really great, and he would tell me when it was ugly, but like I was over there thinking like, okay, yeah, we're going to do something, and just kind of like lying to myself almost. Like, no, it's okay. Like, we're going to be good. That was good.
It'll be there.
Yeah, it'll be there on meet day. Exactly. Yeah. I was there. And it'll be there on meet day. It was not, in fact, there on meet day. And then I was so pissed. So I was like, I did all this stuff. I moved, and like it was like the pity party bullshit. I bombed out of the WPO semis, turned right around, and because XPC finals was the next day, and I went and talked to Dan. I was like, hey, can I get in your meet? Because I'm gonna get a total this weekend no matter what. And then I took a step back and like realized just the stupidity of that, and then went to him. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. But you get so wound up and you just get so tunnel visioned sometimes that nothing else matters, and you're trying to like force it, and sometimes you just can't force things.
Yeah. Well, I think when you're trying to figure out how to balance the pressure and not enough pressure, the only way you know when it's too much is to do too much.
Yep.
Right? At the same time, on the lower end, you know, tell me about a time when you didn't put enough pressure on and how that worked out.
I don't know if I have a time like that.
Yeah.
I don't think that time exists for me at all. Yeah, I always have to be doing something, or like even in the off season, like I didn't have a meet. I wasn't in gear. I wasn't doing any of these things like you would do in a prep, but I'm like, I'm gonna learn how to do a muscle up.
Yeah.
Like I always give myself something to do. And there's no pressure there, but it's a thing that you can work towards. So I don't think I have any examples of when there wasn't enough pressure.
You have to, with the muscle up as an example, and you know, some of the skating shit that you do.
Yeah.
You have to be able to balance out a risk benefit of those things too.
Oh yeah.
And still have fun with it all. You know, so there's some that will see some of the things that you're doing on Instagram, the skating stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what the
Just
stupidest,
dumbass.
what are you doing?
Yeah.
But if that's not there, then you run the risk of too much pressure.
Yeah,
burnout, you know, not being able to just get the fuck away, you know, and all those things were at the same time giving you something to shoot, because the off season is boring.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's something that is not stressed enough, that a lot of this shit is just boring.
Yeah, it's super boring.
And then
and that's okay.
And you need to experiment once you get to a certain point. You know, once the beginner gains are gone, you know, the intermediate gains are kind of gone.
Yeah.
You got to start experimenting with things. You know, where one of the things you're experimenting with now is squatting every day. You know, like 4 times a week.
Fucking small off.
Yeah, I mean, how do you come up with what you're going to experiment with, and then what controls to be able to know if it's working, not working, and how long to stick with it.
Yeah, that's usually I rely on my coach a lot for that. Because if I were allowed to just go do whatever I wanted, it would be chaos.
How so?
I mean, I would be skating, I would be doing muscle ups and wads, and then I would be in a full squat suit trying to do something stupid. Like, there's not enough time in the week for the shit that I would want to do, and my body would not let me do all of the shit that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
If I wanted to cram it all in. So I rely a lot on him to like set out a plan, and we work on that together. And like, okay, here's what we're going to do for these few weeks, and then we're going to test using this.
Okay.
So like, this is what's happening. So like, I needed something to bridge the gap at the end of this off season before I started prep for the Pro-Am. So we decided, okay, I think I ran Smolov the 4 times a week squatting during COVID in my basement, because that's all I had. And it put like 30 to 40 pounds on my squat. Like it works. So we tested at the end, and then like, okay, the squat needs work in the raw arena. Like, you're capable of doing a lot of things in that squat, but like, you're all fucked up. You need to stop squatting like an equipped lifter raw.
And what's the difference?
Like form wise, or
Yeah.
I'm much more narrow. I'm a lot deeper.
Yeah.
It's a lot less hinge and a lot more knee flexion in terms of trying to like get down to that depth. It's more so I don't have that suit and that like stopping power to rely on like squatting into, so I have to do it a different way so that my body can get to depth and hit what it needs to hit. And also like controlling the bar, it has to be faster. Like, I can't just do a 15-second squat like I can in equipment. Like, I need to get down there and get up because I need to use some of that momentum and stretch reflex and all that stuff to get the job done. So we're picking that apart right now, and then we'll test that, and then that'll be the baseline after the equip prep, and then after the Pro-Am's done. Then we'll take a little break, then go into raw prep for the American Pro.
So the reason for 4 times a week now is more of a technical thing.
Yeah, it's drilling. It's rehearsals. It's, okay, what can we tweak today? Because I'm getting enough reps in to make those little micro adjustments, and then enough reps to like solidify them into my brain and my motor patterns. And like, I'm learning to make those new things, those improvements, second nature, so that once it's a thing that I won't have to think about anymore.
Well, you're putting a month of training for most people in a week.
Yeah.
And as long as the intensity, the load is controlled.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
And you can recover from it, then you're able to reintegrate those technical reps. And then when you move into multiply, how's that? You're not going to do that 4 times a week.
Oh, God,
so
no.
Is it more natural for you to be wider and to sit back?
Yeah.
Than it is the otherwise?
Yeah, I definitely have a more natural like position. It's more comfortable. I mean, define comfortable. It's not comfortable, but like, that's where my body wants to take the bar. So tricking my body into learning how to do it the other way better is what the intent of this is.
And how is the bench the same way for you? Or is it more similar?
I think bench is more similar. Like, benching in a shirt, like it's like I can compare a multiply squat to a raw squat and talk about it all day. But comparing a raw bench to a multiply bench, they are 2 different animals. And I just treat them as such. I just know that so there are indicators on the raw side. Like, if my raw bench is going up, I know that my equipped bench is probably going to go up. But sometimes that's not the case, because the equipment is a limiting factor. So if you don't know how to use that, then it's not going to matter how strong you are.
Yeah. Then do you have to integrate the bench shirt in year round so that skill isn't lost?
Not necessarily. There was a time, so when I was out there training with Jimmy, like I was in a bench shirt every week. And that was very helpful with like reprogramming myself to know how to do this and learn how to do this. And now I'm at the point where I could get in a bench shirt. It might not be perfect or beautiful, but like I'm still going to be able to do something. And I don't just totally lose that knowledge of what my body needs to do if it's not year round. So I don't train in a bench shirt year round. I probably do train in a bench shirt more than a lot of other equipped lifters, because I've heard like people get in it like once a month or something like that, because it is really taxing. But I guess it just depends on what your proficiency level is in the shirt and if you can afford to take time off of it.
Have you found a carryover from the equipment to raw?
Oh yeah, absolutely. As soon as I started like just box squatting in briefs, when I was, still just exclusively raw, like the overload, being able to handle heavier things than I'm used to being able to handle, like my hamstrings blew up, my back blew up, like I was just building muscle easier and faster, and I was able to recover because my hips were protected and I had this like armor on. But I was still progressing in like the hypertrophy side of things. Like I was growing because I was handling these heavier weights and I was doing it so often because I could recover from it. And then as soon as I took the briefs off and I was like, okay, let's see what we got. Let's start a raw prep. It was amazing. Like everything just skyrocketed. And the recovery part was huge. Like I just didn't feel as banged up in the gear. Like I felt like I could hit workouts more often and get more out of them with the gear to translate to the raw.
It's opposite of some people.
Yeah.
Why do you think that?
I don't know. Maybe I don't think I'm an anomaly. I've heard like other people say those things. I think it's just the joint protection. And like if we're talking about squatting, the amount of knee flexion in an equipped squat or even a box squat is just definitely not as much as a raw squat. So like my lower extremities, like my hips felt good, my back felt good, my knees, my ankles, my feet. Whereas on the raw side of things, like this, you're going to get beat up. You don't have that protective coating. Yeah, the coating.
The armor.
Yeah, the armor. So I just felt like I was able to recover better while I was using gear to like not be as beat up, really.
Yeah. How have you found your job skills, we were talking a few weeks ago about, the difference when sometimes you need to be concise, sometimes you need to be more long-winded, I suppose. So you go from this setting to where now you're like, where all the aliens are, and now you're a Russian spy, and I got all this conspiracy shit going on now, right? Where you can read people very well because you've been trained to do that. Then you are in the gym setting where you're working with other people. How have you been able to integrate those skills into it? Or are you just like, fuck it, I'm not doing that now?
Yeah, I'm usually fuck it, I'm not doing it right now. I turn that part off just because like when I go in to the gym, like obviously you're going to have to do a little bit of that if you're working with people.
Yeah.
Like in a coach athlete perspective. But if I'm in there with the crew and we're training, like I am trusting that everyone has flipped the switch when it's time to come in and go to work. And like, if I had a bad day, it doesn't matter when I walk in there. Like I'm leaving it at the door. I'm trying to like turn that part of the brain off so that I don't have to worry about those things. Because if I do, I'm just going to be sitting there trying to analyze everyone and everything and their movements and their body language and all of this shit.
Yeah.
And I can't keep up with that and be able to do what I need to do to get my shit done.
What on the flip side, have you ever had a time where you're in the gym and you know you're a mess, right? and you're like, how in the fuck can nobody know that I'm a mess right now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You have no idea. That happens quite often. That was me last night. I'm sure people knew I was a mess last night because I just went in and deadlifted something stupid.
Yeah.
And that was not on program. It was not anything. I wasn't supposed to do that. Mm-hmm. But sometimes shit happens and you just got to go do it for the brain.
Yeah.
I try really hard to not bring anything. Like people will probably, because that's out of the norm for me. Like I don't veer off what I'm supposed to be doing quite often. So that's probably an indicator. But this is the other thing, as I look at those things in other people, I don't think other people, they probably don't look for those things as well. So I'm over here thinking, okay, here's what they're seeing from me. But nobody fucking cares. No one's paying attention to that shit.
Yeah.
And then like you just can't worry yourself. And that it comes back to like who cares what other people think? Like, does it matter? Like, if you want to come in the gym and be an absolute psychopath, like, all right, cool, do it.
Well, I can argue it kind of does. You know, like if you're part of, you know, a crew, then they should know the tendencies. They should know what's going on. Now, granted, you can go at a time when nobody else is there and still do the stupid shit. That's what
that's what I did. No one else was there.
So nobody's going to be able to know that. You know, to be able to dial it back, but. You will, and I highly doubt that would happen if you were 10 weeks out or if you were closer to a meet.
Not.
You know, it's in there, but it's normal. For people who do this shit. You know, that's one way to be able to deal. You know, with other shit. But here's the question: like, did it help?
Momentarily, yeah. Momentarily, it was the stupidest setup. Like it was, I had the kabuki bar. I put my fucking briefs on. I haven't sumo deadlifted. I can't remember the last time. And I'm like, no, I'm going to pull 600 off blocks tonight. That's what I'm doing. I'm not leaving here until I do that. And like, that's uncharacteristic. I don't do that shit. But like, for whatever reason, that's what got in my brain. I was like, I'm going to go do this.
So how'd that start? I mean, something's going on before you get to the gym, right? So you're driving to the gym thinking this is going to happen.
Oh, yeah. It's just driving there in silence. Just thinking through it like, okay, I just needed to simplify a task and do the task. Like that's where the brain was yesterday. And I'm like, okay, I just have to go in and do one thing. So easy, so simple. I mean, it wasn't easy. But like, if I just give this to like, let's see if I can do this. Like, what do I have tonight? Type of thing. And that's where that was mentally.
Is that like a life stress thing that just throws that out?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So if you were coaching you,
shit,
you know, what would you say
I'd
right
hate
now?
me.
Yeah. What would you say?
I would probably, I mean, if it was like a one-time thing, I'd probably just let it go. I'd be like, all right, you need to get that out of your system. Cool. And then if it became like a trend, then there'd be an intervention of some sort of like, hey, listen, you are fucking your shit up. This is counterproductive to what you said your goals were. If those changed, like we need to talk about it, or we need to figure out, okay, what's going on to like remedy the situation so that it doesn't become problematic. Because like me going and fucking off for one day, I'm going to be fine. Like I'll be okay. But like if it continued, that's when the problem would arise.
Okay.
So I'd probably, if I were my coach, and I think that's exactly what Marcus did. He's just like, yeah, go for it.
So he enabled it.
Yeah.
Get it
well,
out.
I asked. I was like, hey, can I do? So I did have like the common sense to be like, is this fucking stupid? Like, I want to do this thing. I have it in my brain. I want to do it today. And he's like, yeah, go nuts. So he did. And now I'm fine.
Well, you made the better choice of other options, though. Like you could have been conventional off the floor, so sumo off blocks.
Exactly. I padded in some shit.
Yes.
Sumo off blocks, kabuki bar,
Briefs.
briefs.
So you made it so it would be easier to recover from.
Yes.
Which
yeah.
is intelligent.
Straps.
Yeah,
That's that
straps.
auto regulation.
There you go. There you go.
Like I knew I needed to do something stupid, but not so stupid to the point that I couldn't come back from it in a while.
Yes. Adam wanted me to ask, favorite cornmeal.
God damn it, Adam. My stepmom makes this thing. She calls it corn blick. I don't know what it means.
Blick.
B-L-I-C-K, corn
Okay.
blick. I don't know what it means. It's some fucking Midwest Ohio shit. But it's cornbread and corn, and then there's something else in there. I don't know exactly how to make it, but it's like, it's not like you eat a piece of cornbread.
So there's corn in the cornbread.
There's corn in the
I've had
cornbread.
that.
Have you? You've had
yeah.
corn blick?
Yeah, I didn't know it was called that.
I didn't know it was called that either. I mean, that's just what I don't think it's actually called that. I think that's just what my family calls it, which is
Yeah.
weird.
Put gravy on it.
Yeah. Corn blick.
Corn
That's
blick.
the answer, Adam.
Actually, you put butter on it.
Butter, yes.
Yeah, so corn blick. So it's corn.
Yeah.
It's corn and corn.
It's corn and corn. It's cornucopia.
Yes.
So much corn.
Then there was another question, which I didn't think of the question the way, because it was one of the YouTube community questions, and it was more along the lines of, well, who is Amber Hansen? And I'm like, dude,
Ain't
just
shit.
go. I said, go read the description, right? But then I thought for a minute, well, that's an interesting question.
Oh, God. We're going deep, aren't we?
Yeah. So if I was to ask you that, what would the answer be?
Oh, man. I'm just, I don't know, man. I think I'm an Air Force officer who likes lifting weights. That's me.
Mm-hmm.
You got 2 stupid dogs.
Tell me what. Okay, we got to talk about the dog. So if you follow Amber on Instagram, her stories are interesting, right?
yeah.
So the dog's dragging, kinda, but scooting
Yeah.
like a fish
yeah.
across the carpet.
Yeah.
Why?
Okay. I don't know. I wish I did. I wish so hard that these 2 weirdos could communicate with me somehow. I think he just likes to itch his wiener on the carpet. Like, it might be itchy.
So this is a normal thing.
Yeah. Like he does this on pretty much every carpet that I have, but I got new carpet, a new area rug, and it's wool. So it's a little more abrasive, and I just think he liked it a lot.
Obviously.
Yeah. He liked it so much that it rubbed his little belly a little raw. So,
If they could speak to you, what would they say?
oh my God. I don't know. Bigum's the smarter one. He would probably be like, what's your deal? Like, why are you like this? And then Darwin.
No, wait a minute. That question has to be dug into a little bit. You know, why you like
Yeah, why are you
this?
like this?
This is a very generalized word, right?
Yeah.
So let's define that.
Oh, God.
So the dog's gonna say, "Why you like?"
Yeah.
Or why? So what is this?
Why do you do the things, like, why do you have us in your house just hanging out?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we do cool shit, like you give us snacks and like you treat us good, but like I feel like he would just have some like deep, meaningful philosophical questions for me of like, why do I exist? Why am I a dog? Like, that would be his like brain pattern.
And this is the smarter one.
This is the smarter
So what
one.
what
I think
the other
Bigum
one?
knows he's a dog.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And the other one would just he's derpy.
Derpy.
Yeah, he's derpy.
What is derpy?
Just like he's just like, a little not as smart.
Derpy.
Derpy.
So that is
quirky.
So derpy means not as smart.
I don't know.
Well, you come up with these words that crack me up all the time.
I do be coming up with words.
Yes. So derpy is a good one. So derpy.
Derpy, dopey, like dangus.
Yeah,
like that's Darwin.
Yeah, derpy explains a lot of things. Oh my God. Then
Darwin.
when you're just chilling What do you watch?
Ooh,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So did
Yellowstone.
you see the last one?
Yeah, I did.
Is that still rated under the 2 episodes
Yeah.
ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like, I don't want any spoilers, but
Oh
Yellowstone's
yeah.
amazing.
Yes, yes.
It's so good. So I'm keeping up with that. I started it. I binge watched it. And now I'm all caught up. And then usually that, or I'll just like throw podcasts on or something in the background because I don't spend a lot of time at home. And then the time that I do spend at home, I'm usually just eating or hanging out with the dogs and then sleeping. Pretty boring.
When I was stalking you and I sent you text last night, I forgot that you're part of the main event project.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting. I'm like, oh, I kind of knew this, but I kind of didn't know this. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that was a really like kind of off the cuff thing that got created out of. So I'll just give you a baseline. It's myself, Allison Hind, Leah Reichman, and then Tara Duncan, all amazing lifters, got together, and it was kind of the weight class thing was the thing that sparked this. And we are just an organization that's trying to raise money to put back into powerlifting to like generate awareness and like prize pot stuff for female athletes. So it's all about like the women's empowerment, like girl power type of stuff. Like female powerlifting has taken off. Like, and there are all women's meets. There are, you know, women in meet director positions, coaches positions, like all throughout the sport. And I've been super fortunate that I've had like a really good upbringing and have never like had any of these like horror stories that some other women have. 'Cause like bad shit still happen. Like there are pockets of powerlifting where it sucks for women sometimes. So we're trying to point women in the right direction, be a resource for women in the sport who are either just getting in or don't know where to go, don't know where to compete, don't know what to do. And like arming them to go be successful in the sport via information, education, and then also raising money to put forth towards like sponsoring athletes, sponsoring meets, contributing to prize money, and just like getting women paid.
Well, I think the biggest thing that you guys have done is got federations to open up the 220, right? 220, 242.
Yeah, so most every federation is opened up and they're made the weight classes equivalent to the men's. And then I think it's USPA and then USAPL. I don't know, a couple, and then also the APF, WPC, they added 220 and 242. So we were able to kind of generate enough want through that petition and through like collecting information and data and like testimonials from women who are like, we want more weight classes. Like here's why we want them. And then here's what it'll do for the sport. And then pitching those ideas and that course of action to different federations to say, hey, can we do this? What does that look like? And then them going back to whatever boards that they consult with or whatever to figure that out. And then just making a change.
Was there pushback on that? Or
Oh, yeah.
What was the pushback?
A lot of it was like it will dilute the sport further. Opening it up, like there won't be as many lifters in those categories. There won't be like enough women to fill them. We're just adding more of a category to an already just diced up sport, which I agree. But like you were talking earlier when they added the men's 308, like, yeah, that was slim for a little while. Now look at it.
No, I mean, obviously I'm biased because it mattered for me.
Well, yeah,
me too. Because, that's where it kind of fell in there. And, it, as I was saying earlier, it sucked when I'd have to go through the top 100 and like take out the supers and like, here's where I would be. And then sometimes you didn't know, like he might be, he might not be.
Maybe.
And then it's in there. And at the same point, had they created it earlier than what they did, then there wouldn't have been enough for even a top 100.
Yeah.
But
true.
I would have been cool with that too. Like just fucking put the top 20. I don't
Right.
care. Like where do I fall with these other people?
Yeah.
And throw it out there. And, with shit, even on the men's side with the supers now, 308, I mean, there might be like a need for a 330.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at some point, society is getting bigger.
Yeah.
Lifters are getting bigger. And I think I don't think they're getting fatter, right? I think that each generation coming up is learning from the previous generation. So now things like off season, spending more time working on muscle hypertrophy is common language, where before that really wasn't the case.
Yeah.
Which means people are going to have more muscle. So just take every lifter from the past, men or female, all the way through, and now add 10 more pounds of muscle on them throughout their career.
Year
So
after year.
so if they're doing that for 5 years, not that it's 50 pounds, but it's 10 pounds more.
Yeah.
So now everybody is up a weight class.
Right.
And they're stronger, from it as well. So there's the ability to be able to push that. Where, how long did you guys work on that until it actually came through?
I don't know. It was a couple of months. So I think we're still under just over a year old.
So within 1 year, you added weight classes.
Yeah. It happened very quickly. So what happened is we were just, the four of us, like I think Allison's a 160. She's competed in all of like the middleweight, lightweight classes. Myself, Tara, and Leah were all super heavyweights, and I compete at 198. And like looking at that gap, we were like, this is just anyone who is 199 pounds competes against everyone, like who is above that. That doesn't make sense. And maybe it did make sense back when they were created. Because I remember, like, my first meet, there was, like, one other girl. And then, if you go back even further, like, the WPO, Laura calling, Amy calling, like, hey, Laura, I'm going to break a world record. I want to compete there.
They're
like,
guest
asking.
lifters, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, like, that's not the case anymore. Like, it was the right time and place to propose this change. And then we came armed with numbers and with, like, God bless Open Powerlifting, because we pulled everything from that fucker. Yeah. Like it was great. Like it's all right there. So we were able to make the argument and then also like gather testimonies from women. Like there's the intangible side of things too. Like there are women that were like, I didn't want to, like anonymous feedback, I didn't want to be on the record board at the gym under something that said super heavyweight as a woman or as a woman. And like, that sucks. Like you don't want to be on your record board because that like stigma, you don't want to be called super heavyweight, but like that exists and we can't ignore it. Like there's still super heavyweight divisions, like that's still a thing, but also like there's enough women competing in the sport where it makes sense to make this change right now. And it, depending on the federation, like it's not that hard. You just change the rule book.
Well, they're already all laid out.
Yeah, they're there.
It's there, right? It's kind of it's actually probably more work to not have them there.
Yeah.
Because it's already laid out on one side. Here it is. There it is. In other words, it was very simple for Open Powerlifting to make that change.
Oh yeah. Well, they had already been doing it.
Yes.
So they go like, and you can filter by women, and then all of the weight classes are still there, and you can just do it. So like, I would look myself up as a 220. And like you look at the amount, like the opportunity for growth within these weight classes now is like there are new records at 220. Like there are new things to break. There are new exciting milestones to hit. Those 181s who would cut to 181 every time because they want to be more competitive are now have like growing room to go to 198 and like just make each one of those bigger classes a little more competitive each year.
What are other things on your agenda?
Weight class wise, no, not weight class wise. So we are sponsoring, we started it off last year. We did it once. We sponsored a lifter, their entire trip paid, meet registration, everything to the women's pro-am. So we're doing that again this year. Fundraising stuff. We have a t-shirt that's out right now, that we had Travis Rogers draw it for us. So he did that design, and we basically just sell t-shirts, get the money, put it in the pot, and then it goes towards either sponsoring meets or sponsoring lifters. And people will send us meets, or they'll send us like their women's only meet, and we'll be like, yeah, absolutely. Like, if we have people that, because people come to us all the time and they're like, what should I do?
What do you mean? Oh, new lifters.
Yeah, new
Where
lifters.
should they go?
Exactly. So we're
Okay.
trying to like point them in the right direction of like, hey, where are you located? Like more of like a guiding, like mentorship type of role for people who either have questions or they don't know where to go or what to do, but they want to do a thing.
Yeah.
And,
And
like,
it's non-biased because you're not affiliated with anything.
Nope, not affiliated with any federation. We look in the local area. We look at meet directors. We look at past meets that we've gotten feedback on. And we're just like, hey, check this one out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other future?
As of right now, we're just kind of keeping on down that same road. Like, we would like to expand, but
So
it's just the four of us randomly came together to do this thing.
So the biggest thing was the weight classes.
Yeah, that was what initiated it
Yeah.
all. And then we were like, all right, let's do some more with it. Like, there needs to be more education on this stuff. It needs to be like, you have all, like, if girls who powerlift, you have Sisters of Iron, like that type of role. But actually, like, instead of like selling something or doing like the profiting with things like, you know, merch or whatever, like, we just want to put it all back in the sport.
No, I think that if you can, I think when you're dealing with, you know, women coming in the sport, they don't know, right? It's just like the gym bro or whatever, just do this, do
Yeah.
this, do this. And if it can stay, like when I text you, you know, make it a 501c, you know, get it to a point to where a charity, you know, the
Yeah.
donations can be able to float in a little bit better. And then
Yeah.
it becomes this non-biased thing.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not about what you're going to make on the apparel because it's going to go back,
Yeah.
you know, to the lifters. Because my life in the sport, everything that seems to start with good intent always seems to flip, you know, to not good intent.
Yeah.
Or, oh shit, I didn't know there could be money here, so we're just going to keep all the money.
Right.
And then it doesn't, you know, roll through. And I think sometimes I don't think it starts that way. I think that just bias falls into it.
Oh, for sure.
Where it's like, oh no, this, you know, we're going to push everybody here. We're going to push everybody here.
Yeah.
You know, here's what you need to do. And that's lacking in a big way where, you know, in a shitty way. I mean, because the internet's always kind of been shitty.
Yeah.
You know, in a shitty way, forums kind of used to be that, you know, because it could kind of like unbiased push, you know,
Yeah.
kind of here and there, but they're still biased.
Yeah.
There's social media can kind of do it now, but there's bias on everybody's page.
Yeah.
You know, so it's something that can create that non-biased would be awesome.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's possible anywhere. I can't think of an example.
It can be, you know, I mean, well, not now.
Yeah.
And by no means, it's not
Yeah.
now at all. And I think that's what hurts,
Yeah.
you know, because I've been saying for fucking so many years now, at a certain point in time, women are going to make up half, you know, and I thought it already happened until I started looking, but it's close, right?
Yeah.
It's just, as I was telling you earlier, it gets a little weird when you start dealing with international different
Yeah.
countries, because things that are more socially acceptable here are not socially acceptable there. And it's
True.
going to change those numbers until you
Yeah.
complete it all out. And then when that happens, you know, the women are going to want a place at the table, rightfully so, and they should be, you know. And if this has been my prediction, if I had more time, I would have fucking found it, right? And if it doesn't happen, they will create their own,
Yeah.
right? So and when it
There's
was
already women's only meets.
yeah, and it was, I don't know the growth rate in the last, because it's fucked up after COVID, because COVID
I
skewed
know,
things a lot.
COVID really screwed it
So
all
you
up.
can kind of look at, here's pre-COVID, then you're trying to figure out what's post, but it's not enough
Yeah.
to be able to figure it out. But the
You're trying to like anticipate what those numbers are going to look like.
yeah, because the growth was like, whew, oh, it's 3 years away from
know.
being like 50-50 or whatever it's going to be. And then what's going to happen when it's 55-50,
Yeah.
right? And that's, you know, where the federations, a lot of these fuckers need to get on par, right? With, granted, it's way, way, way better, you know,
Oh,
than it was
absolutely.
before. But if they're not, if they're not at the table, you don't know what they or need,
Exactly.
want, right? Or be a part of it. Just same way, you know, different weight classes need to be at the fucking table too, you know, so you need to have lighter ones, you need heavier ones.
Exactly.
You know, lifters, this has been
Perspective.
yeah, I mean, it's been a complaint ever since I've been in the sport. Lifters always need to be apart, active lifters.
Yes.
Right. You can get all the old heads that are sitting back there that haven't been on a platform for 20 years. And I'm one of those guys. There's a lot of shit I forgot about.
Yeah.
You know, you can kind of see it vicariously through other people, but unless you're actually there, you don't know what's really lacking, what's not lacking, what should be better, what isn't.
You're not in the shit
yeah.
anymore.
Yeah. And you want the sport to get better overall.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that, not saying that the old heads, they need to be there too, because they've seen,
absolutely.
but there has to be this mixture of that.
Yeah.
And that's when I think you guys are onto something more than you think.
Probably.
You know, but
we're just trying to make
exactly,
something
yeah.
happen.
No, but it did.
Amongst the four of us.
I think it was like, okay, this is fucked up. And then you fixed what was fucked up. And it's like,
and then we're like, now what?
kind of like the 4-year plan we were talking
yeah, exactly.
about.
All right, let's make some money and then put it where we think it should go or where people want it to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, that's kind of where we want to look at like seminars or stuff like that, or maybe going nonprofit, because we whipped this together real quick because we're like, all right, we're doing a thing, we have a cause, it's like right place, right time, like we got to strike. We put that petition out, and it was just like.
Well, if it happened like that, then it wasn't just a cause; it was a need.
Yeah. So, like, it needed to happen.
Yeah.
And I've had this discussion even before Main Event Project existed. Like, me and a handful of other women, you know, a couple years ago, were like, why does it end at 198? And I started this and like started bringing information in, and then it just kind of died off because I'm like, I don't like, this is going to require a lot of my time, and I don't have it, and I wish I fucking did. And then, like, you know, perfect storm, meeting Allison, Tara, and Leah all come together. Okay, you do this, you do that. Let's just get shit done. And then we got shit done. And then it worked out.
You're in, you do coach some people, you're part of the crew, and you're in a spot now in the sport where top 1-5, whatever it is, you know, so you're definitely up there. When these newer lifters come in and you know that it's more than, they're going to do more in one meet. What advice do you have for them to be able to move forward that you wish somebody would have told you?
I think just being patient is a big one, because as soon as I started, I wanted to go like so hard, and I was all in, and I was ready to just like be the best or do whatever I needed to do to get better and progress. And realizing like, it's really exciting at the beginning, because you have those beginner gains, and you're like, oh, this is how it's always, if this is the rate that I'm on, I'm going to be an all-time world record holder in 3 years, 3 to 5 years. So just understanding like, okay, slow down, be patient. Like, it's going to take time, capitalize on what you can capitalize on right now. Like, don't squander your beginner gains, but get a coach, do it right. And like create that good foundation so you have something to build on when the beginner gains are gone. And that would probably be patience. That would come down to that, because there's people that would, you know, come to us and they come with the mentality of like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to be the best of all time, I'm going to have all these world records, and we're like, great, let's do it. And then they go so hard so fast, and then they get burnt out, and they just don't take a step back and have that perspective and just take a breath. Look at it from the big picture. Like, if you want to stick around for a while, you got to look at it from the big picture.
What advice would you have them for navigating online?
Oh God, I don't even know.
Well, you do it.
Yeah, and it's rough. I don't do it as much anymore. When I was in Virginia, I had a bunch of online clients. I have
No. I'm navigating the online sphere.
Oh,
You know,
I gotcha.
Yeah, so now they're lifting, they're posting their lifts. You know, so now they're out there.
Yeah, that one's an easy piece of advice, because people have asked me this before.
Yeah.
And it is a lot easier to tell someone to do this than to have someone actually do it. And that is, don't compare yourself to other people. Like, you can, is the minute you start doing that, is the minute, like, it's going to fuck you up. And you're going to compare yourself to someone in your same weight class, or someone in a different weight class, or someone you were at a meet with. Well, this person did this. And like, why are they better than me? And you will go down that rabbit hole, and it will just like eat you alive if you allow it to. Because you're going to have your little pocket computer, and you're going to be scrolling through, and you're going to see all these people who are better than you. There's always someone better than you. Like, unless you're Hoff.
Yeah.
But if you bite off on that and you like let that creep in, and you let that be a piece in your mind, like, it will just fuck you up. And then you're going to be thinking about that instead of thinking about the things that are going to make you better, instead of like what you should be worrying about, and not worrying about what other people are doing.
How did you stop doing that?
I don't know. I don't think I ever did it. I just have seen a lot of other people do it. And I think the military helped me a lot with that. Because I, like, you operate as like a unit in the military. Like, you are all same thing, same mission, same everything. Like, I didn't need to compare myself to anyone else in that world, because we were all on the same track to do the same thing. Like, I'm not competing with my coworker. We're on Team Air Force.
Yeah.
Like, that mentality bled into when I started powerlifting. Like, yeah, I'm competing against these people, but like, we're all team powerlifting at the end of the day. And that's why I don't think I ever got too deep into it. Like, every once in a while I'll be like, damn, she really took off. Like, but I don't ever let it manipulate anything in my life that's going to change what I'm doing, because I'm worried about myself and worried about my own progress, and everyone's progress looks different.
How did you curate your feed? DMs and shit like that.
I don't think I've ever curated anything on there.
Yeah.
I just ignore.
Yeah.
I got a lot of people muted. That's been a great feature. And then I just like control when I use it and what I use it for. Like, I post my shit because I like posting it. I think it's fun. Like, everyone likes the little likes and the validation and the feedback. Like, if someone tells me they don't like that and they're posting shit, you're full of crap. Like, that's fun for me. And then also as a form of like accountability, like, I did a workout, I'm going to do a post. I go back and scroll through that thing all the time to try and find some, like, okay, what did I do this day? If it's too much to go through some Google Docs or like a notebook. And then I don't spend too much time just scrolling through stuff, because you're just opening yourself up to looking at what other people are doing and like worrying about it when it doesn't matter.
What about the DMs and this shit like that?
Oh, like the DMs aren't too bad. There's a lot of message requests that I just don't get to.
Yeah.
And that sucks, but I go through and I'll just filter. Like, if something's a legitimate question, I'll try and answer it. Or if I need to push someone, if they're asking about coaching, I'll push them towards the dirty gym. If they're asking about equipment or something, I'll push them to you. Like, hey, check this out, check whatever out. But like, I don't worry myself with getting through them, because if someone actually needs me, they know how to get a hold of me.
And how would that be?
Text me, call me.
Well, they can't do that if they, the important, I guess what you're saying, if
but
somebody
like,
important knows.
Why would a stranger really need something important from me?
I think you just made a really good point. I really do. I think that's a big point.
Yeah.
It probably needs an asterisk by it, right? Because there's a lot of people get caught up in that. So it's usually a stranger.
Yeah. I don't owe.
Maybe a bot.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
makes a post, and then the bot makes them mad.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, it doesn't bother me. I don't let it consume much of my life. I spend time on there. Like, I think I love memes. I love
Yeah.
stupid shit on the internet so much. And like some of the stuff that people put out there is so fucking funny. And it just amazes me the creativity and how hilarious some people are. I'm like, who thought of this?
Can you remember any of the pages that you follow for memes?
It's just like there's one like howdy y'all, I'm Craig or something.
Howdy all, I'm Craig.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. It's just stupid shit.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know. I'll repost them sometimes, and
Yeah.
it's silly, or like the corn memes. Oh my god,
Corn memes.
Speaking of DMs, like as soon as that corn kid got popular,
The corn kid?
yeah, the corn kid. Oh, you probably don't know about the corn mommy.
Now wait a minute. Now I see where Adam's going here.
Oh,
So there's
that's why that wouldn't make sense to you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a corn kid. There's a corn mommy.
Okay. You heard the corn kid song, right?
No, I
It's
don't.
corn.
The corn
I'll send
kid.
it to you. I can't believe you haven't heard of that.
I don't have what?
You're on TikTok.
It's on the Tic Tac.
Oh, it's a Tic Tac thing. So the corn kid.
Yeah. So, okay, before the corn kid was popular.
Okay, here we go. All right, so before the corn kid, there was
Before the corn kid. Okay, have you seen The Longest Yard? You've had to see
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. So you got Joey Diaz on the ground, sucking wind, saying, I need a can of corn, I'll be fine.
okay.
That's what my training partner and I would tell each other when we were just dying and couldn't breathe on our squats or something. Can of corn, we'd be fine. And then it turned
Yeah.
it turned into a hashtag. It turned into this big thing. And then, people started sending me funny shit about corn.
Okay.
And I would just get these corn DMs of just memes about corn. And I'm
Corn
like,
memes.
why is this happening to me?
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought it was funny. So I'm like, I want to play into it. Like, why the fuck not? It's just corn. So then we started, hashtag corn mommy, hashtag all of this shit, need a can of corn, whatever. And then it took off. And then the corn kid got popular. And I had so many DMs of people just sending me this kid. Thinking it was
sending you
funny.
the corn kid.
Sending me the corn
Okay,
kid. I'm
okay.
like, yes, I've seen the corn kid. Please
Okay.
leave me alone.
Okay.
So it all started from The Longest Yard. Need a can of corn, I'll be fine.
So it's okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of when I would do the reaction things of people's stupid shit in the gym. Right. At first, somebody messaged me one, and then it ends up it's like the corn kid.
Yeah.
So I do a few of those, and then my
Spirals.
whole DMs are just polluted
Yeah.
with.
Like the band ones that you've done, like people, snapping bands up
Yeah.
in there. Yeah, I bet, because there's a bunch of those out there.
Yeah.
People are probably just sending you more.
Well, then it becomes a problem, right? Because
Yeah.
it's, you want to react to something, but it's like, it's the same thing.
Yeah,
So now you got like
exactly.
100 messages about the corn kid. You're
Yep.
like, I got it.
I
You can
got
only
it.
repost
I know.
so many,
Yeah.
right? So I'm out of the loop, obviously, with the whole memes
I'll send
and
you
shit.
the
So
corn
you got to,
kid.
you got to send me the corn.
Yeah. Don't worry, I got you.
Yeah, the memes. Now I see how you manage to ignore all the other shit, right? Because if you're too busy laughing at the corn kid and corn
Exactly.
memes, and your dog, scratching his
Yeah.
nuts across the rug.
Yeah, I don't need to worry about the weird stuff on there.
No, I mean,
I'm having a good time on the internet. That's all.
exactly. Well, that's what it should be for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there any topics or questions that you thought I was going to ask that I didn't?
Well, we can't talk about the aliens because I can't talk about
I
that.
know that, but see, I will say this: it's odd that you go from New Mexico, right?
I just find it funny.
Very
that-
close to area, pretty close to area 51 or whatever it is, to Right Pat, just right. And now the whole Russian thing's got me all on. That's a whole other fucking issue right there. So there's the aliens, then there's the Russians, and there's all this stuff we can't talk about.
No,
you
we're not
know?
at liberty to
No,
say.
but I have a feeling I'm going to get another book. You know,
read this, then we can talk.
Yeah.
Why
yeah.
is it all blacked out in Sharpie? Don't worry about that.
Yeah, that's not a big deal.
Yeah,
so,
it's fine.
No, the alien thing is Jaden's more into that.
Oh, yeah.
I backed off a little bit for now.
Time out.
For now, but now that you just brought it up, it's like, okay, there's something there.
We're back. We're
Just
digging
curious.
into
Very good. That does bring up a question I have. So you move around a lot. So now that you're in the role that you're in, because part of that role was promoted into the role, right? Are you going to move around the same? Or you never know?
You never, on the one side, you never know, but then on the other side, like, the Air Force is really good, at least my career field is really good at, like, understanding, taking what people want and then balancing it with the needs of the Air Force. So, like, I want to stay put for a little while. And I don't know what that looks like, but I know that I want to stay put for a little while. And there are options locally for me to go into. So I'm like, okay, here's what I'm looking at. Like, can we pivot here? Can we do this so that I can be stable a little bit for a little while? Because I still don't really know, like, if I'm going to get out, if I'm going to stay in 20.
When do you have to decide that? How's that work?
So I took this assignment. My commitment, I think, is up in 2024 or 2025. So, like, I could leave then. But it's weighing that, like, risk versus reward of, it's only, like, by that time, what is it, 11, 12, 13, 14 years in, I could retire at 20, at, like, 41 years old, get a pension and medical and all of this stuff and be, like, set, and then go do whatever I want.
Well, what do you think that would even be?
I don't know. That's the other, I've done Air Force for so long, and it's just been, like, a smattering of a bunch of different things. And, like, that's a safe zone for a lot of people. Like, you know, you're going to have a job, you know, you're going to have something to do. But a lot of people get out and then they're like, shit, what do I do with my hands? And they try and prep you really well for that. Like, once you're getting out and you're going to separate, they, like, show you how to write resumes and, like, how to search for jobs and how to line things up and everything. But, like, if you don't know what that life looks like outside, then that's very scary for a lot of people, myself included, because it could be anything. Like, I have my master's in exercise science, human performance. Like, that was really cool. I'd love to eventually use that. I do love coaching and helping other people, whatever that would look like. It's just trying to figure out, like, what do I want to do when I grow up?
Yeah. Well, you dabble in the coaching other people now.
Yeah, it's definitely not a full-time thing.
Yeah. How do you like it thus far?
Oh, I love it. It's like when things go right, even when they go wrong, it's rewarding to, like, help someone through either an issue or a problem, or, like, giving them that toolkit to go do the thing that they said that they wanted to do, and then they do it. And then they're like, holy shit, that was awesome. That's, like, one of the most gratifying things in the world for me. And, like, I do really like that aspect of it. And, like, I like breaking down form. I like breaking down, like, all the different moving parts in the things that we do, and trying to figure out, okay, we got to pinpoint a problem, and then, okay, let's fix the one little problem this week. Let's find the other problem. Now let's do that. Now let's fix this other one. Okay, now let's put it all together and make it perfect. And then drill it, do it so that it becomes second nature. And, like, working through those different types of issues is a lot of fun for me.
Well, it's taking everything that you've learned, and you know what I'm saying? It's you look through the path. Like, here's all this, here's how it leads to this, and you can better understand, here's a quadrennial, here's how this is, here's how this is. Not that it's OCD. You know, it's not that.
No, I'm definitely not that.
It's not that. It's just there has to be structure.
Yes.
You know, and purpose and a mission to what you're doing, which, you know, you've brought that through. I don't think you know any other way, to be honest.
No, I don't.
Because it's so ingrained.
That's all I've known.
Yeah. So then when it disarray, you know, then it's like, the fuck. And that's most lifters.
Yeah.
You know, that's most people that would need the help.
Yeah.
Any other things that I didn't cover or bring up?
I don't know. Did we? Oh yeah, we didn't really talk about training in here.
Okay, tell me about that. I mean, this is kind of like my world.
I
so
know,
it's
that's
my bubble.
why. I'm going to interview you now.
Okay, go. Go.
Okay, what goes through your head on the weekends when it's time to train? Like Saturday mornings, we're coming into squat. Like,
Yeah.
what is your thought process coming in and getting all of us going?
Saturday, the squats, I like the squat more than anything.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about Saturday all week.
Yeah, same.
So I kind of know what that all is. So it's a little different because I know what I want to do, but I don't know exactly what that's going to look like until I get through Wednesday.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because Wednesday's tonight, and that's just light fluff and buff shit.
Yeah.
But it's a big indicator for Saturday for myself. And then a lot of it also runs into, okay, who's going to be here? Because that's
Yeah.
going to dictate a lot of what I'm going to do. You've seen me do enough stupid shit. So I gotta calculate the stupid shit. The fewer people, this is funny, the fewer people that will be here, the lower I have to keep the weights to the ground. Right? So like a spider bar.
Total sense.
Because if something was to really go awry,
Yeah, that's
that's
true.
not going to take anybody out.
Yeah.
The plates are too low. The safety squat bar plates are higher. Somebody else is going to get hurt if
Someone's
something
getting
goes.
fucked up.
Yeah, because if something goes bad, it's probably going to be bad.
Yeah,
That's going to happen.
Be real
So
bad.
yeah. So then once I figure that out, then that's kind of what my game plan is. Or if I can, Todd's got more structure really than what I do. If I can fit in with what they're doing, then
Yeah.
I can do that. But sometimes I just can't because he's going to use the giant camber bar next week. So I'm out. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
So I have to do something else. That's my own part. And then when everybody else starts coming in, that's just assessing,
Yeah.
the nonverbals, especially the ones that I know have meets coming up, where they're at, how far out they are. You can learn a lot just within the first 15 minutes
Yeah.
of just people walking around.
Like how's
talking.
this going to go for you today?
Yeah, like why are you doing leg swings when you've never done them before? Just little things like that
Yep.
to kind of assess what's going on. And then, as you know, I don't tell anybody how to basically train.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just let them kind of do what they're going to do. And then know the natural tendencies, like you're talking about, what's a normal form, right? And that's a little different in here because I know there's variance within normal form. Some other people that can come out here don't understand that there can be variance
Yeah.
with certain form and think everything has to be exactly the same way.
Yeah. I wish it was that way.
Yeah, so does
perfect
so does
world.
everybody. So it's kind of balancing that. Then a lot of that is, trying to explain, because there's a lot of eyes.
Yeah.
When you're lifting, there's a lot of eyes watching as far as technique, stuff like that. I don't even think we pay attention to the weight.
No.
It's just the
no.
bar. That's how I process that. Then Sunday is like, oh fuck, I can't even make that decision until Sunday because I don't know what Saturday is going to do.
That's true. Yeah. How do you, so we have a few different groups of people in here doing different things. How do you manage like keeping an eye on everyone, or do you?
I do.
Because you're doing your own training too. Like you got to
Doing my
worry
own
about
training.
that.
There's people there's not a lot of people out here, right? Now it gets hard sometimes if there's a big group, the
Yeah.
other people will come out, but normally they all kind of fraction off into whatever they're going to do. So
It's
I can't
interesting.
worry about a bigger group that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
Because I can't really help all that much
Yeah.
there.
And you don't know what the norm is for those people. 'Cause
Yeah.
You don't see them.
And I'm not going to offer unless they're going to ask.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's another real dicey type of thing.
Oh, for sure.
Where it's who's in what group, and then there's more advanced lifters, which the assessing and the needs of that are going to be different. Like I don't have to worry about all warm-up stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's even the warm-up sets, not a big deal. It's all auto-regulated. It's all I feel. Weight starts to get heavier, then I'm going to look over a little bit. Then there's more beginner, younger ones where I got to watch,
Yeah.
that, but still give enough room to let them fuck up
Yeah.
because they're going
That's
to learn.
part of the process.
Yeah, no, that gets a little more regulated and a little tighter as they're getting close to a goal or a max. Then it's like, dial this back, don't do this, then do this. And then once that's over, it's like, go ape shit.
Yeah.
Just be be a teenager.
Yeah,
you know,
like
go
what
do,
Joe's doing right now.
yeah, just go do 50 sets. Just do
Yeah.
your shit. Or sometimes with them, I'll put a time.
Yeah.
Like you got 20 minutes, you know, just go do all your bodybuilding shit within 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do, you know, I watch, but it's, there are certain things like I'm watching, like, is there changes in how they're warming up? You know, are they warming up when they normally don't? Right.
Yeah, true.
And then it's the heavier lifts, you know, focus on the heavier lifts. What's the problem? What's the technical thing? Is it just a technical thing? Is it a physical thing? And then how do they train? You know, it kind of know that. Is this wear? Just same things like you were talking about. Is it just wear and tear?
Yeah.
And then afterwards, you know, is there too much work? Is there not enough work? What is their normal work?
Yeah.
And there's a big variance because some of the people that come out here only train on Saturday and Sunday. That's it. You know, so there may be a larger volume than some of the other ones. And then, or it could be because there's not enough volume. So,
Yeah.
so
It depends.
it depends, you know, and I've grown up in a weight room,
Yeah.
you know, so you see the commonalities and you see the tendencies, and then you can also see what to avoid. You know, it's like, okay, this was just said to this person. I may not necessarily agree with what was said to that person. That person looks a little confused right now.
Yep.
Right. I need to talk to that person to see how they interpreted what that
clear it up.
was, because typically it's always the same, just a different way of being explained. So if there's the confusion, then who else could explain the same thing
Yeah.
in a different way?
Yep.
And then if that's the problem, find somebody else who can explain it in a different way. You know, and if they all kind of know, then it works.
Yeah, that's huge. That's one of the big things that I've benefited from being out here is the amount of eyes that have been on my stuff, and then asking, because like sometimes Todd will say something to me and I won't quite get it. And then I'll say it in a different way. And then I still won't quite get it. And then you'll say something and be like, okay, that makes a little more sense. And then, I don't know, like Adam will chime in or whatever. And then it'll all come together and then it'll click and you'll have that light bulb moment. I'm like, they were all saying the same thing.
It's just figuring out
The
how to
one
get it.
thing got through though.
Yeah, and we know that exists.
Yeah.
Where 15 years ago, I may not have known that.
No.
You know, so I would have just been trying to push this one thing
Yeah.
and be like, what the fuck is wrong?
Yeah, like the more times you say it the exact same way doesn't mean someone's just going to get it because you're saying it.
Yeah.
You're repeating it. Like it might be ingrained and they might remember what you said, but they might not know what it means.
Yes. And then having knowledge and a broad base of training philosophy helps. At least for me, it helps, because if somebody's using high frequency, I know what that is.
Yeah.
I know what that looks like. I don't want to have this conversation on, you know, why that's bad.
Yeah.
You're already doing it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
why are you doing it?
Yes.
You know, like earlier talking about squatting 4 times a week. Why is this being done?
Yes.
Oh, now I get why it's being
what's
done.
the intent?
This makes sense. That's the intent. If there's a disconnect, then it'd be a different conversation, but this makes sense. And then, you know, that, because if it's an environment kind of like here, where it's not big and there is going to be different training philosophies, if it's all, this is wrong, you should do this, then even if that happens to be true, you just created confusion in the lifter to where they're now doubting themselves.
Yeah, and that's a big, big deal.
And I've seen some stupid shit work very, very well for people. And what you don't want to do is to create that doubt there. So I probably spend more of my outside of my own mental processing on that. Like, how is this moving everybody forward?
Yep.
Right? And is it at the pace it needs to be? And then combining the right environment when it's not a full-time environment.
Yeah.
Right? Because
That's tricky.
it's another tricky thing, because people are going to be doing things other places,
Yeah.
which I want. But when they come in, if I've tried so many different things. I've tried where it was only all advanced lifters. Clusterfuck.
Oh, yeah.
I've tried it where it's only beginners. Clusterfuck. You know, I've tried it where it's only like the in-betweeners. clusterfuck. There's a balance.
Yeah.
You get that balance in there, then it's like, okay, cool. Because as you progress in the sport, and it's probably there now, you don't always want to do this. It feels kind of jobby, you know,
Yeah.
like it's a job.
Yeah.
But then when you see younger kids just breaking PRs that are just at the beginning of their journey, it's like, man, this is what I do this shit
Exactly.
for.
You get reminded of
Yeah.
like, okay, this is the why. This is why it's exciting, and it, you know, drones on and maybe becomes jobby, but then you get those glimpses of like, yeah, this is what it's all about.
Yeah,
Like,
and
it
then
brings you back to normal.
They can see you squat and be like, fuck, like, wait a minute, this is fucked up, you know, and it's like, no, this is right.
Yeah.
You know, drive this. And then it pushes the right way in all spheres.
Yeah. Yeah, I think getting like that wide range of people in one area, like in different experience levels.
Yes.
Because I'll be able to go look at what the kids are doing and like pick out certain things with them, and then look at what you guys are doing and like pick out what you're telling each other, or even like the jumps that you guys are making. And I'm like, I wonder, and like I try and figure it out on my own before asking. And then if I can, I'm like, okay, cool. I worked that through on my own. And then I'll ask, and they'll be like, this is why. And I'll be like, yeah, I was totally fucking wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's cool to know that's what the thought process was. And then you pick up little things of like, okay, I could probably integrate that into my own like mental checklist, or like, okay, I don't think I could do that thing, but it's cool that you do. And it's been cool to like get exposed to all of those different types of thought processes.
What did you think it was going to be when you came in?
I had no idea. I had no clue. And I tried not to think of what, I tried not to put any expectations there, and just be like, this is going to be a cool thing. I'm going to go to Elite FTS and I'm going to train maybe like a couple times, and then, you know, get a little bit of experience, exposure, whatever, and it'll be good to go. And then it turned into like, Todd's texting me and making sure I turn my clocks back for daylight saving time, that I'm in there at the right time. And like you integrate into whatever group you get into, especially if you understand and realize like the value that you can get from it, and then also like you can give to it.
Yes.
Because like it can't just be a take. It cannot. Like even the kids who
Well,
don't
it's
know
going to be
anything.
really hard out here, because I'm a very strong believer in this auto-regulation thing, right? And through all the podcasts and all the years, that's the biggest variable that has to be figured out.
Yeah.
So if it's all a give, good luck with that, because
Yeah,
you're going to
exactly.
be looking like, what should I do next? You tell me.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Then they're like, they have to figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, and that's purposely.
Yeah, figure it
done
out.
that
Like
way.
it's okay. You're gonna fail at shit.
Yeah.
Not everything's going to be perfect all the time. Like you're gonna fail, and sometimes you just have to. And I'd rather fail in a controlled environment than uncontrolled, not know shit about shit, and then talk to someone about why I failed afterwards.
Yes.
And learn from it. And maybe I'll do it again. I don't know. I'm gonna try not to though.
Controlled stupidity.
Exactly.
Controlled and regulated stupidity. That's how I would
Yes.
think about it.
Yeah, yeah. That's what the last night's deadlift session was.
Yes. Well, I do a lot of shit like that, but it's all controlled and stupid. And like, okay, here's what it is. Here's what I want to do.
Yeah.
How do I train toward that? You know, because personally, I don't have a meet. It's like there's things in my head
Yeah.
I want to do within certain time frames, which are longer than people know.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is how this is going to be done. Where am I at? Like, oh, fuck. I already exceeded that.
Yeah.
So that's good. This, I'm way behind. So what do I do now? Just accept it's way behind. And instead of keep trying to catch up,
Yeah.
just fucking take the L.
Yeah. Just whatever.
Reassess,
Call it a day.
reassess, and then build it back. You know how it's supposed to be, and Todd helps with that. You know,
Yeah.
so there's.
Todd's awesome.
I mean, Todd and Joe I've been training with since the '90s.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not like a.
Yeah, you guys know each other pretty well, and you're like tells, and
Yeah.
they probably don't even need to spend more than a minute with you when you walk in the gym to know what kind of day it's going to be.
No.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Other things,
Oof.
because you said you had, you know.
We talked main event project, talked Air Force, training. off season, small off. My legs hurt.
Yeah. I actually opened the super chat thing up to
Oh,
be able to
Lord.
look. So we'll see if we're
Super
any
chat.
questions. Hey, sorry I'm late.
Super chat.
Sorry I'm late reading your comments.
You got all this high tech setup over here.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
in my
And
booster
then I
seat.
didn't even look at it once until now. Is this live? Yes.
Oh shit, we're
Yeah,
live.
Yeah, it was.
Just kidding.
Yeah. All right. How can people follow you, reach you?
I just told him I don't answer my DMs. Fuck.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I do. I'll go in there and look through. If I see something, I'll get back to you, hopefully. But I'm on Instagram. It's at Amber, AMBERR.Alice, Amber Alice. And that's like really, I have a TikTok. I don't do much on there. It's the same thing. Main Event Project. It's at the Main Event Project. And I think we got that Travis Rogers shirt out right now. And then there's like a link tree in my bio with all kinds of shit in it.
So there you go.
No,
So
that's it.
All right. Thank you for coming out.
I think it's good just to kind of face back and treat yourself like close to a natural athlete so you can appreciate the diet and the training modalities and you know, rhythm and volume and intensity again. Because when you're on, you kind of lose touch with that. You know, or at least a lot of athletes unless they're under good guidance of a coach. And even then they have the coach to guide them because themselves, it's very hard to do it yourself.